My name is Byron Delpinal. I'm a TB class of 2017. I was a part of the L&D committee for a while. I co-chaired that committee, and then now I serve on the board as the secretary. I also develop software in my day job. So I work with a lot of folks. We've been distributed for quite a while. The company I work with is called Sparkbox. We are a consultancy, so we have many clients throughout, really throughout the US. So we've been figuring this out for quite a while. Like Brian mentioned, feel free as they come, just post questions in the chat. I'm not going to be monitoring that. Throughout here, Brian will be monitoring that, so it won't be intrusive in any way. So please just use that any way you see fit. And then the success stories at the end. I really would love to hear, honestly, it doesn't even have to be success stories, just stories of how you've all been dealing with this. Things that I'm really interested in, like I would love some tips and tricks from you all. What have you learned? What are your ways to be more productive or to be really more sane? And then what are some things not to do? I actually have a few of those throughout here that I'll share with of myself as well. I think, you know, I want to make sure this is being recorded, but let's just be honest with each other, and let's be okay with sharing, like, I tried this, it didn't work out. Maybe you shouldn't do it too. So let's get into this. I do have a disclaimer before we get started. The thing that we're doing right now is not being a remote worker. Like the thing that we're doing right now, and I've seen this posted many different times in many different ways, it kind of speaks to me a lot. I've been working remotely for a few years now, and this is completely different. So working remotely during a pandemic is not the same as being a remote worker. Everyone is processing this differently. Myself, I've gone through really peaks and valleys this whole time. I've gone through times where I've had days, like a stretch of days where I couldn't, like I just could not do anything. It was like, you know, periods of depression, periods of like, I'm overwhelmed because we have, there are 6 living things in this house. I think 2 of them are cats, so they're pretty low maintenance. One yells a lot. That's the baby. My wife does not yell a lot, but it's a lot going on in the house. And so I've gone through a lot of different things during this time. Some people are not that way though. Some people are killing it, and that's totally fine. And like, they should be able to share that they're doing amazing things during this time. And I should also be able to share that I'm having a difficult time, and that's all just cool. Because this is really a collectively traumatic event overall, and everyone deals with that differently. So let's, my first tip there is just be empathetic. Really be okay with how other people are processing this. Please try and have some empathy for how things are going and how people are dealing with this. I have coworkers who are posting about how excited they are. Like, I don't think they're gonna send their kids back to daycare when this is all over. Because they're just having such a great time. And sometimes I'm like envious of that. Because a lot of times I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't wait. Like, you know, maybe like if we flip the crib upside down, it'll be a cage and we could just have her be in a room for a little bit. Like, that would be great. So like, just be empathetic with people and be okay with other people processing this differently. But let's get into the first portion of this, which is really remote work best practices. Again, this is for folks who are going to continue working from home. This is going to be important throughout, and important to understand if you're going back into the office, that other people are going to be doing some of these things. So there's a different way to work. So the first part of this presentation is going to be focused on best practices for those folks who are not in the office. And then the second part of this presentation is best practices for those in the office, how to really create and foster that environment of being remote friendly. So the first thing we're going to go into really is over communicate. Communication is so key. People want to know what you're doing. Provide constant text and status updates. Just let people know where you are. Really easy. I don't know what tools you're all using. if it's Slack or Microsoft Teams or any other, really, even email clients have the ability to send auto-respond messages. When people want to get in touch with you, they should be able to know what that interaction is going to look like. So be able to provide some updates of what you're up to. And then insist on video calls as much as possible. And I don't mean insisting on like me, I would never recommend anyone force people to turn on their video. That's uncomfortable for some people, and that's okay. But as much as possible, and when folks are comfortable with it, you should ask for a video call. There's so much communication that is nonverbal. So many, even, but your body language is huge. Your tone, the way that you're reacting to things, it's really, really helpful for the people that you are really talking with every day. If you just communicate with people over phone, you're not even seeing their faces. And as humans, that's something that's important. The next two go in line with the text and status updates. Let people know when you're working. You might have odd hours. You might have something going on. You might just go for a walk. That's fine. Update your status and let people know that. And then this is one thing that I thought that was really interesting. It's actually very remote friendly, so people know where you are. It's more friendly when you're in the office because instead of people just going to your desk and not seeing you, they can actually know what you're doing and they didn't have to spend the trip to go to your desk. And I want to challenge the people that have a lot of privilege here to do this, because it's also a diversity and inclusion thing. When you are okay sharing what you're doing during the day, the time you're spending away from your computer, the time you're spending not working, that normalizes it. And doing that makes it okay for other people who would otherwise not feel that it is okay to do that. There's a lot of research out there that people from underserved and underrepresented communities in your industry, and this is in tech all the time, we talk about this. People feel that they have to do more. People feel that they're not able to publicize when they're taking a break during the day because that's seen as bad. So if you're someone who has the privilege to feel that you can share that information out, please do, because it normalizes it in your culture. And that goes to the last one as well, which is communicate when you're working odd hours, unless you're normalizing the concept of working constant 12-hour days, because that sucks. Don't do that. Don't create that culture. It's not good for you, I promise, and it's not good for the people around you. So if you work an evening, if you work through dinner and work an evening, no one needs to know that. That's fine. It's cool that you did that. It's great that you got a task done. It's great that you were so into what you were doing that you wanted to continue. You don't need to do that though. Don't normalize that culture. The other one is establish a routine. So whatever this is for you, I can't prescribe this, but figure out what you were doing before and what gets you motivated to work. For me, I have to shower and get dressed, and I have to, I cook breakfast. I have to eat breakfast. I will not admit to being the person who cooks a lot of the breakfasts in this household. But if you go for a walk or listen to your, if you're missing a morning radio show or a podcast, do those things. Keep doing those things and establish a routine. Unplug during your breaks and then shut down. Physically do something that makes you shut things down. A great example from some coworkers I have, they do gratitude journals. We do peer feedback pretty often. So they'll just keep running notes of like, wow, somebody did something awesome today, or somebody, did something that I'd like to provide some feedback for. You could write a blog, or you could establish your to-do list for tomorrow morning. So when you sit down at your computer, you're ready to go. This is really important for working remotely. Really take breaks, really take breaks. So don't forget to eat snacks or lunch and drink water. All this stuff is so super important. I go sometimes way too long without lunch, and then I'll eat a big lunch at 3, and then all of a sudden I'm not really hungry when it's dinner time with the family, and it's not a good routine to get into. And then be intentional about moving around as well. You probably don't realize how often that happens at the office. Especially if you're in like a big building, you go from room to room in meetings, you go from desk to desk talking to people, you go from your car to your office, your house to your car. There's a lot of walking involved in going to work, and there's not a lot of walking around just going in your house where everything is. So keep that in mind. And just take advantage of being at home. You know, a lot of this is mental health too. Remember that it's really, really okay to be mentally healthy during this time. So one thing that's nice, I don't do this very, very often, but when I do it, it's pretty great. Just cook a nice hot lunch. I actually looked up a blog for like single people like cooking recipes, because I've forgotten how to prepare like a meal for one, and like preparing an actual meal for lunch is really great sometimes. And then I will be the one who shares that this is okay to do. Take a nap. Don't spend your whole afternoon sleeping, but if you want a 20-minute power nap, do it. I've definitely taken naps, so don't be afraid to do that. I will share, there is a line somewhere. So one of the things that I've done, I thought it was would be a good idea. It's like, well, I want to take some breaks sometimes. I want to be able to unplug and just kind of take my mind away from work. And I will share with you the least productive week that I've had in my life. I thought it would be a good idea to bring my PlayStation to my office. You can take breaks. That's great. Don't do that thing. That did not work well. So, you know, make sure to unplug, make sure to get your mind off work, but do it within reason for sure. And then another thing is make sure to love your workspace. This is really important. I understand, again, we'll come back to the idea that, you know, this isn't remote working right now. We're not all going to go and like remodel our offices because we have to work from home for the next month or two. I don't think that's reasonable. But it is very reasonable to say, I use XYZ at the office to make me more productive. How can I get closer to doing that at home? So in my office, so this is actually my wife's desk. This is Kirsten's desk. My office is the same office. My desk is behind hers. And I have identified a few things that I love to have at home. I love to have a whiteboard. I have a whole, I think it's a 4x6 whiteboard on the wall. I like to have art. I have that hanging behind my desk that I see. I like to have a view of the window. So we have a window right over there. I have all the things that I really liked to have to make me productive. I have family photos right on my desk. I know this is my own house, but this is where I spend my time and I want to see my family when I work. So that's great. If your workspace is not at a desk with a monitor, if you don't have an office with a monitor, there are some things still that can help you be a little bit more ergonomic, because I think that's really important too. You know, having a nice chair, or at least just making sure that you have a place that you can sit comfortably. There are laptop stands. So I have what's called a roost. I'll stop at the next like section divider. I have a picture of my laptop when I work remotely, but you know, really try and be ergonomic as well. Make sure that you can sit, because I mean, there's so much research around offices. People have done this research before you, and you didn't have to worry about it. But you know, we're at the point now where now you're constructing your own office. So how do you make it what you want? There's a lot of ergonomics in play, and there are a lot of things that you might need to know about. So keep that in mind. If you are experiencing like back pain or just pain of any sort, of uncomfortableness working at home, maybe change your workspace around. This is important for me. I collaborate a lot. I really I enjoy working with people. And so there are a lot of tools that allow that to happen and really allow it, in my opinion, to be better. So task management, we have things like Trello or Asana or Jira or Basecamp. These are just tools that you can invite a team to participate in that will keep you and your team more productive, keep them more honest with what you're doing, keep you more tuned in to singular tasks that you can get done one at a time. My wife and I use Trello for home projects, just to keep a list of what needs done and who needs to do it, or like a list from Lowe's, and she'll just assign it to me. And I know that I need to go get that thing. So it's a place for things to live. It's really, really helpful. And it helps you keep history so you can keep track of what you're doing. I have my own Trello board as well, just personal tasks that I want to do. It's great. Communication, Zoom, Microsoft Teams, Slack, there's a bunch of communication tools, and they're fantastic. They provide asynchronous communication. A lot of people think that Slack needs to be responded to immediately. I would disagree with this. I think it's a tool that replaces email, and using that tool when you're working odd hours with people, or working when you're not at the same desk, or even working in the same office, you don't need to respond to that stuff immediately, because when you are working, you are a lot of times heads down on a task, and Slack takes you away from that. So don't let these tools be a burden on you, but please use them as much as you can to eliminate the maybe potential uncomfortableness of not all being together in a room. And then collaboration, Google Drive is fantastic. Please don't underestimate a really well-crafted Google Sheet, or a Miro board. Miro is another tool I would encourage you all to look into. It's a place where you can all collaborate together. You can pretend it's a wall and I'll put sticky notes on it. You can draw on it. You can do all sorts of things collaboratively. It does it really well. Another important thing for working remotely is setting boundaries with your household. So there's this stigma, well, there was before this pandemic, that working remotely meant that you weren't really working. I would have family members stop over, or requests come in that, you know, I take care of XYZ during the day, and really make sure that people know that when you need focus time, or that you're on a meeting, that you're not available for household things, because pretend that you're in an office, you're not available. It's also really important to respect other people's boundaries as well. So the people that you work with, they also have their own households and their own boundaries that they set. So just be respectful of other people's boundaries. This could be a spouse, this could be children. You know, my son comes home at 3:30, and it took me a while to have talks with him where, you know, he would just come into my office and I'm on a call and I'm like, do you need something? What's up, man? I'm kind of in the middle of a thing. Can I help you? And so you need to make sure to set boundaries with people. And then the opposite also is required. And this is something that I really want to hone in on, because this is going to change the way that you all think about work, hopefully. I think that there's this real talk and real conversation about work-life balance, and a lot of people talk about setting boundaries at home, but they don't talk about setting boundaries with work. That's not balance to me. Balance to me means if you took the time to stay up late last night to work, sleep in. Why are you at your desk at 7 a.m. the next day? That's what balance is, give and take. There's a lot of tools to be able to do this. So Google and Outlook have working hours. I'll highlight a person that I work with. She is working at home. Her spouse is working at home as well, and they have kids, and they have to take care of those kids. So they have a schedule where she's working early in the morning, he's working at night. And in Teams, we communicate with Microsoft Teams on that project, because she actually works at a client. If you go to message her, it'll pop up with a status. These are my working hours. She sticks to them. She's very communicative about them. And this goes back to the point I had in the last slide. Respect their boundaries. They have set them. Don't be intrusive in their family time, and they won't be intrusive in your family time or your work time. And then another big one is establishing your workspace and only using it for work. I talked about having a PlayStation in my office. I didn't remove the PlayStation from my house. I removed it from my office because this is where I do work. And if you normalize slacking off in your office, then that's what you're going to do there. We're creatures of habit. We know if you say, this is my work desk, then when you sit in it, your mind will be ready for work. So that's for people who are going to continue working remotely, or really just people who are going to be working from home a few days from now on. You might be, you might have other things. You might be waiting for contractors. You might be, I don't know, any number of reasons that you're working from home. I really want to normalize that it should be fine. That's fine. Stay home. Don't feel the pressure to go in, certainly 7 days a week, but really even 5 days a week. Hopefully we're going to all go back to our offices and create that sort of culture where that's okay. The second half of the presentation is going to be about that. So before I move on, this is my laptop. This was taken at Bounce here in Akron. So when we talk about ergonomics, if you just like sit hunched over your laptop all day, it's really terrible for you. You can see there's like a keyboard and a trackpad on the desk there. There's a wrist rest. And then we have a big laptop stand that makes that monitor eye level, so your back's straight. Keep that in mind when you start working remotely more often, or really just at all. There are products, the laptop stand is the Roost, everything else is the Apple keyboard and trackpad, and just a standard wrist rest that I roll up and carry along with me. You might want to look into that stuff if you find yourself working from other places more often, and even just from home. It's good. So I'll continue here, and I'll try and make the case for having a remote-friendly culture and what that's going to be like for everyone. The case I'm going to make is that it's going to be better than it is today. And I think that I truly think that if you embrace the idea of creating and maintaining a remote-friendly culture, even the folks that show up at your office every day will benefit from it. And for those of you that showed up a little early, we had a conversation about what reopening looks like. I'm really interested to hear everyone's stories when this is over of what you're going to be doing to reopen, or if your office has shared a plan. I'm interested in that. But for now, let's talk about what that might be like, because that's all I can do is speculate. I will say, this is sort of what I wanted to happen. Like, even the most responsible of us, I will admit, I've even thought of like, I would love for the governor to come on 2 p.m. one day and be like, you did it. It's over. We're good now. And like this, you know, we all go out together and we're all just, you know, it's behind us. What a hilarious thing that happened. But it's not going to happen. So the real fact here is that social distancing is here to stay. We kind of made some jokes about it initially. It's probably for the better, just overall. I think we'll all get sick less. But fully remote, and this is a concept that is really interesting to me. Fully remote and fully, actually it says distributed, I'm sorry. Fully remote and fully present is easy. So when you're all together in the same room, or when you're all remote, that's not bad. But semi-distributed, that is very difficult. And so that's what I want to talk about through this next section. How do we deal with that? Because this is the concept. I mean, this is a typoed concept, but the concept is, you know, when you are semi-distributed, you have, let's say, 6 people around a table, and there's a phone in the middle of it. And there's 3 people on that call, but they never talk, because they never can talk, because you don't have a culture set up to allow them to participate fully in the meeting. And what that does to the people that are at that table is it signifies to them that being remote means you can't contribute. So this is this cyclical thing that happens in office culture that dictates that remote means you're not working. When all that really happened was you weren't provided the tools or the knowledge or the culture to be able to contribute during those meetings. And so that's what I want to talk about with a couple of these. So the first thing that we want to do to create remote advocacy in the office is establish a point person for meetings. This is the remote advocate in the meeting. And so Brian mentioned what he's doing is he's taking questions from the chat, writing them down, and he's going to present them. That's more of a facilitator role. It's not going to apply when you're in the office, but the concept is the same. We talked about it beforehand, and we knew that that role was going to exist. So next time you have a meeting, talk with the people that are in the office and have someone that's going to be dedicated. Say, you will send me a message on whatever messaging platform you used, and I will physically raise my hand in that room and ask your question. That's part of your job as being the remote advocate. And that's something that, switches every meeting and should be normalized in your culture. All right, who's going to open Slack today and take questions? Okay, great. Send your questions to Jeff. He'll ask them in the meeting. Throughout that meeting as well, the remote advocate is there to say, okay, great. We've heard a lot of great things from a lot of great people in this room. Now let's hear from the people on the phone. What do you have to say? Do you have input as well? Or ensuring that meeting collaboration is remote friendly. So when people start using the whiteboard in the office, that's great. Is the camera turned on? Is it pointed towards that board? Can the people that are remote see what's happening? Or is there a bunch of side conversations? We've all been in these meetings where really it's 2 or 3 meetings and the people at that end of the table are talking about one thing and the people at that end of the table are talking about another thing, and you're on the phone, you can't hear either of those things, right? So the remote advocate is going to be there and say, hey, let's keep this on track. Let's make sure that we are focused here going forward. I think it's difficult to hear. Or, hey, people on the phone, can you hear us? Is the volume okay? Or is Stacy too far away? Can she move forward so we can more clearly hear what's going on? So this is really important. Establish a point person. The next is treat all meetings as virtual. So step 1, we've identified that having a virtual meeting is okay and that everyone's going to be heard. So now that we're confident in that, now it's time to transition all our meetings to virtual. Now what this means is don't put anything on your calendar that doesn't have a Zoom link or a Teams link. And that's gonna make it so that people aren't stressing about going to the office. Oh, I gotta, this is happening at home and I really wanna stay home, but gosh, I've got this meeting later and I just can't miss it. Well, don't think of it as missing. We've established in the last slide that now if you go to that meeting remotely, you're going to be heard. Your voice is going to be heard. So what happens is people have that inner dialogue and then they say, oh, well, I would have to message whoever started this meeting and ask for a remote component. I don't want to do that. I'll just go. And so we're not creating an environment here where remote is okay. So if we treat every meeting as virtual, even if everyone plans to attend in person, then a lot of things happen, because really that's not the only situation. Maybe we're in a big campus and we're double booked, or not double booked, but back to back booked. It's okay to take it from your desk. These things become fine in this situation. Or maybe it's a really busy day and you just can't find a conference room. Okay, just all sit at your desk and go to the meeting. Nothing has to change. And so this is a really important one. And then the next step is, great, all your meetings are virtual. All of your people can be heard, whether they're in the room or not. Now it's time to use more written communication. 1, establish if you really needed the meeting. I think that's just in general. We can all kind of think back at meetings that did not need to happen. Let's be more open with that. Let's be more open to missing meetings, because what's going to happen is, if you're treating this as remote friendly, there's a process. You have a meeting, and then after the meeting, someone documents the decisions that were made in that meeting, and they post them in the communication channel that you have. Or you have a place that tracks, and this is a really, really good one. I would suggest, and this is part of the suggestions that are going to make everyone's life better. create a place that you track your decisions. And anytime you have a hallway conversation, I can't, oh my gosh, I see this all the time. Somebody will stop somebody in the hallway and they'll go, oh, I'm so glad I caught you. I got a question for you. And then all of a sudden, like, you have a 5 or 10 minute conversation, and you two people have made a decision about a project that has a team of 10 people. It happens all the time. It's okay. That's fine. But it happens so siloed today. If we were a remote friendly culture, if it was normalized that we know we need to document these decisions, somebody goes back to their desk and they say, hey, I just had a great conversation with Brian. Him and I talked and we decided this. And again, this is going to allow all of your decisions to live in one place, to be searchable, so we can, like, oh, remember we had this conversation. I thought maybe we decided to go this way, but maybe we decided this way instead. Like, there's that, all of that goes away. And not only does all that go away, now more people are able to provide feedback, so they can feel like they're part of that decision, because they can jump in and say, okay, I see that decision, but did you think this? Or, wow, that's a great decision. I'm glad that I caught this. And maybe somebody on another team sees that and says, okay, now I know, now I'm in the loop. More people are in the loop on decisions that get made, and less conversations needed to happen. So this is a really, really big one to keep in mind. And then, I love this one. Just be humans. People put on such a different personality at work. It's not required. Like, you are all humans still. The people that don't want to see your kids in the background, or the people that forget that they've hired a human being instead of a person just solely responsible for completing tasks. It's not good. And so we can continue this virtually. And there are a couple of things that have become common just because of the pandemic. We've all been introduced to this. Remote happy hours weren't a thing a year ago, except in pretty small silos. So at Sparkbox, I started the concept of remote happy hours with a few folks last year, because we had a distributed team already. But if we continue this going forward, even if we look at torchbearers, Tiffany brought up a great point earlier. When's the last time we saw each other? And why? Let's be more open to being virtual together more often. Let's do things like remote happy hours. In the office, we can do other things. So here's a great one, and I love this idea. We've done this idea a few times. Water cooler Zoom calls. It's a Zoom call, literally titled water cooler. Just pop in, see who's there, see who's around, and just have a casual conversation with people. Makes things a little more fun. Coffee break calls, be okay with scheduling 15 minutes just to relax, grab a coffee, and just talk to people. Donut is a piece of software. What it does is it takes a group of people and it will randomly match them up in whatever group size is appropriate. And and it's whatever time interval. We have it set at Sparkbox because we're a consultancy. The nature of our work lends itself to having us not see each other more often than not. If we're not on a client project together, when would I talk to most of my coworkers? Never, really. But we have software, Donut, that says, hey, you're in a group. Schedule a time to go get a donut virtually. And it provides us with an hour to just meet new people and to just talk with people we really wouldn't talk with before. And then human check-ins. This is one, if you are an extrovert like me, you've been feeling this. The situation is, you hop on a call, everyone joins, and maybe you're sitting there, you're like, oh my gosh, this call started 7 seconds ago. Where's everyone at? What's happening? And as soon as everyone joins, you start the meeting immediately. Well, if you're like me, what you're missing is the human aspect of working with people. If every one of your Zoom calls has a strict agenda and you never talk to each other, I don't know how else you figure out who the people are that you work with. how do you create real human interactions? So what we do is every so often, before we start a meeting, we'll have a human check-in. You know, we kind of do this in Torchbearers a little bit, but it's more personal than that. We'll just say, let's go around the room. What did you do this weekend? Or what are you looking forward to? What's a great thing that you've accomplished lately? Just learn more about each other as humans, because we miss that. We're not in the office together. When you get in the morning, you sit down at your desk and you start working. But when you get in the office in the morning, you pass 6 people you knew, you said hi, you talked about your weekend. We all know how it goes. Let's do that still. Another idea is, you know, we rotate on one client project I'm in, we rotate alphabetically by first name, and you either, one, bring a fun fact. So it's kind of fun because, you know, you just learn random things about things. I don't know, maybe we'll be a great trivia team one day. Or if you forgot that it was your turn to do a fun fact, then you have to tell. We like to encourage embarrassing personal facts. It doesn't have to be that, but it's your penalty for forgetting that it was your turn for a fun fact. And we learned so much about each other that way. We went one round, we did every meeting we had, we went alphabetically and just did, if you had a high school superlative today, what would it be? Like fun stuff like that you don't really talk about. KYT, know your team. I would encourage you all to Google this. Know Your Team's a great piece of software that allows us to communicate with each other asynchronously over email. They ask, you know, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, they'll just send out a question. You know, what are you working on? Or what's your favorite music? What's your top 10 favorite songs? You define the questions and they just send them out. And then the day after they send them out, they'll send you a recap of what everyone said. Sparks conversation, is just awesome. You get to know the people you work with. And just silly other things, like one day we had a virtual background theme day where everyone put on a virtual background from Star Wars on Zoom. That kind of blends into the next topic of keep the fun. Being remote friendly can seem like, oh, now we have to get rid of all the fun things we did in person. And that's just not true. Creating a remote friendly culture does not mean excluding the people who are present. That doesn't make sense, but it's easy to think about it that way. Like the idea that you have a pool table or a foosball or whatever the thing is in your office, that's fine. If you're working remotely or you are a dedicated remote worker, you know that what you're signing up for. You know that you're not going to be in the office. And why would we as remote workers ever want you to not have the fun you had before? That's awesome. But there are things, and people don't realize this, there are things that you can include remote people in. So why don't you have the birthday celebrations that you had before in your main room with some sort of Zoom setup there? Why can't we also just be there virtually? That stuff's super fun. Sparkbox is really great about this. I will brag about our company a little bit because it's fantastic in the way that they approach remote culture. They sent a package over to our place, I think like a month ago, and you know, Chris and I weren't expecting anything. We opened it up and it was just a little, like a puzzle that was age appropriate for Evie, with a note from the people I work with. It just said, I know quarantine stuff with kids. I hope we can take the kids' attention away for 15 minutes and have some fun. And things like that for your remote workers are so key. Think about them. Think about the things you can do for them. When it's my birthday month, the office sent over these like brownies from a place around here because we didn't have that in the office birthday celebration. Things like that are super fun. And I would encourage you to try and think of ways that you can think of the people that aren't in your office physically more often. And then, my gosh, this is, if there's one thing to take away, trust each other more. There are so many people that think that there's this chart where it's like, this axis is productivity and this axis is like time spent in front of your monitor. and it just goes up. And it's not true. People are productive in their own ways. If you could bring back to the companies that you have after this pandemic the idea that you should trust first and gauge people on the work they complete, not their hours worked, you will start to see less people bragging about how many hours they work, which is great overall. You will start seeing more productivity because now people's mental health is improving. The idea that you're not micromanaging them or you're not stopping at their desk and asking if they got their email. This is distractive stuff. When you get rid of the distractions, people will become better workers. The vice president of Sparkbox has a quote. He said this to me on one of the first days that I was there. He says, "We hire great people. You know, we know that. The second that I have to start worrying about where our people are is the second that they start worrying about where I am. Nobody wants that. We all have tasks to get done. We all do them. And I love this approach because I can't tell you how many times somebody will come up and say, okay, well, we have this meeting in 20 minutes. I'm going to drive home and just take the rest of the day from home. No one cares. No one cares in that culture, and that's the way it should be. They clearly communicated that they're going to be away for the next 20 minutes. They're going to show up for the meeting that is in 20 minutes, so that's great. I'm not worried about anything. They're going to work the rest of the day from home. That's totally fine. That scenario is what you should strive for in a remote-friendly culture. And I hope that we can all be better workers because of this. I know that this is an unideal circumstance that's brought this upon us. But as Brian mentioned earlier, now we know it's possible. Now we know there's no technical limitation for working remotely. Let's all go back and really do some hard thinking about why shouldn't all of our office cultures be around being remote friendly? Thank you. That's all. I have a bunch of resources listed here. I'll share the slide deck. You don't have to take a screenshot or anything. So some things here, there's some great books. The first one's a blog article I wrote on the subject if you just want to reference any of the topics I talked about. The next two are books by the founders of a company called Basecamp. I love their company and I love the way that they do business. And I love their culture and they're fantastic. Zapier and GitLab also have fantastic remote cultures that they've been fully distributed teams for years now. And the last one is Better Allies by a woman named Karen Catlin, who is fantastic. I recommend her book and I recommend subscribing to the Better Allies newsletter. I get it every Friday. There's remote